Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Sumo fans! I'm Vinny and this is Sumo Files. And my friends, the November Banzuke is finally here. Now it's time to dissect it and more importantly see if it actually makes sense. At the very top, nothing changed. Yokozuna Onosato remains side by side with Hoshoryu. Both had excellent performances last tournament, with Onosato taking the Emperor's Cup with a thrilling playoff. The rivalry continues to be the pulse of Sumo, and honestly, as long as these two stay healthy, they will always be the main contenders for the title. Right below them, things also stayed the same. After posting a 9-5, Kotozakura secured his place as the sole Ozeki. He gave everyone a scare by withdrawing on day 14 of the September Basho due to a ligament injury in his right knee. But considering doctors estimated a 3-week recovery and he set out the London exhibition, he should be fine to compete this time around. Moving down, we find a completely reshuffled Sekiwake lineup. Aonishiki earned his promotion after an outstanding performance that includes a Kimboshi over Yokozuna Hoshoryu and a Ginosho award. Alongside him is Oho, who jumped 3 spots after a 10-5 record as a maegashira 2. Some might see this as a surprising move, but besides his positive record, the Otakebeya Rikishi also benefited from the poor results of Wakata Kakage and Kirishima, who were both demoted from the rank. Adding to that, Takayasu's simple Makekoshi wasn't enough to justify the motion from Komusubi, and Takanosho's brilliant 12-3 as Maegashira 7, which earned him the Kantosho, gave him a well-deserved return to the Sanyaku. The Tokiwayama Rikishi now aims to reclaim his former Sekiwake status, a position he last held back in January 2022. Now let's dive into the Maegashira ranks, where the real chaos of every new Banzuke usually lives. At the very top, Maegashira 1 features Hakuoho and Wakata Kakage. Hakuoho earned a Kimboshi over Yokozuna Onosato and kept his campaign with the Shukun Sho, while Wakata Kakage, after the end of his Ozeki hopes, now begins a period of rebuilding. Just below them, Maegashira 2 brings together Kirishima, who dropped from Sekiwake after a 6-9, and Wakamoto Haru, who climbs 2 notches following a 9-6 performance. In the next bracket, Maegashira 3, there's a modest rise for Hiradoumi and a big leap for Ura. Hiradoumi moves up just 1 step after a simple winning record, while Ura's 10 victories earned him a jump of 5 positions and a return to facing the upper ranks once again. Down at Maegashira 4, the veteran Tamawashi slipped 3 spots after a 6-9, but at 40 years old, it's remarkable he's still fighting this high on the Banzuke. Sharing the same rank, Oshoma begins climbing back after his rough drop between July and September, looking to regain the ground he lost. Things get more intriguing at Maegashira 5, where Shodai rises 6 spots thanks to an impressive 10-5. He's joined by Yoshino Fuji, the new ring name of Kusano. The Isegahama wrestler officially changed his Shikona, and Isegahama Oyakata, former Yokozuna Teruno Fuji, decided to explain the new name. The character for Yoshi, meaning duty or righteousness, was something he himself felt strongly about. The Fuji in Segahama stable has been passed down from previous generation, and I also have the desire to preserve it as a tradition. I hope he'll cherish duty and human feeling, just as his name implies. It may sound strange to call him that at first, but it's a strong, meaningful name, and one that perfectly fits the Segahama spirit. Moving down to Maegashira 6, we find Atami Fuji dropping 3 places, while Onokatsu somehow keeps his rank despite a 7-8. When I was sketching out my own Banzuke predictions, Onokatsu's placement was a constant headache. It's his 2nd straight Makekoshi, but pushing him lower would have thrown the entire shard into chaos, and apparently the JSA felt the same way. It's a good moment to explain that when lower ranked Rikishi records strong results and many upper Maegashira collapse, the middle tends to stay frozen. It's not mercy, it's just the only way to keep the whole thing balanced. Maegashira 7 tells a different story, 1 rise, 1 fall. Shura no Umi gained 3 positions with his 9 and 6, while Wabi slid down 6 after 12 painful defeats. Even so, it's not as bad as expected. He still remains among the upper maegashira. At maegashira 8, Ichi Yamamoto continues his downward path after losing 11 bouts, while Kinbozan somehow held his position despite another losing record, his second in a row. Once again, the association chose stability over strictness. Maegashira 9 is yet another example of convenient tolerance. Midori Fuji kept his rank despite 8 defeats, while Tobizaru rocketed up 6 spots after a 9 and 6. 6 ranks for 9 wins might sound exaggerated, but because so many above him fell apart, solid records lower on the list turned into huge promotions. And trust me, this won't be the last case. In the Maegashira 10 slot, Daieisho stayed exactly where he was despite sitting out the July Basho and taking a Makuuchi in September. Beside him, Koto Shoho, the surprise July champion, couldn't replicate his previous success, suffering 12 losses and tumbling 5 places. Maegashira 11 brings one of the biggest surprises, Shishi. Just 2 months ago, he only avoided demotion because Kotoeiho performed slightly worse. But in September, he delivers 10 victories and soared 7 spots up the ladder. Hoga shares the same rank and somehow didn't move either, even with a 7 and 8. At Maegashira 12, things start to get messy. Fujinokawa dropped a few places after a 6 and 9, while Midori Fuji, who had the same rank and also finished with a losing record, stayed put. It's hard to make sense of that. I understand holding some Rikishi in place despite Makuuchi, but I can't see the logic in Daieisho and Hoga being preserved while Fujinokawa, who was above them in September, was pushed down. Well, anyway, he now pairs with Tomokaze, whose 9 and 6 pulled him out of the bottom half of the chart. Maegashira 13 is now home to Gonoyama, who plummeted 10 ranks after a disastrous tournament. It's frustrating to see, since the Takekuma Rikishi looked so promising when he reached Makuuchi in 2023, but lately, inconsistency has become his biggest enemy. Joining him is Mitakeumi, who dropped only a single position. The Maegashira 14 duo features Ryuden and Toki Hayate. Ryuden rose 3 spots after going 9 and 6 and even flirted with the Yusho race for a brief moment, while Toki Hayate took a 1-step fall after a minor Makuuchi. From Maegashira 15 downwards, we start to see the fresh faces. Nishiki Fuji returns to the top division after 3 tournaments in Juryo, boosted by consecutive double-digit winning records. Sharing the rank is Shona no Umi, who held steady despite a Makuuchi. At Maegashira 16, debutant Oshomi earns his long-awaited promotion after 3 straight winning records in Juryo, while veteran Sada no Umi slips 2 places with 9 losses. Maegashira 17 features 2 familiar names, Chiyoshoma, making a quick return after his brief demotion, and Asakuryu, who fell 3 ranks after a losing record. And finally, occupying the last slot of the Makuuchi division, we have Maegashira 18 Meisei. Despite 10 losses, he was spared from demotion thanks to Takeru Fuji, who had to withdraw the September tournament as a Maegashira 12 due to an injury and ended up dropping all the way to Juryo 7. Speaking of demotions, a couple more Rikishi joined him down there. Nishikigi suffered a disastrous 2 and 13 as Maegashira 16 and now finds himself in Juryo 6, while Hitoshi, after a mild Makuuchi as Maegashira 17, also dropped but landed as Juryo 1, just 1 good Basho away from returning. Overall, I'd say this Banzuke makes sense in some areas but feels quite messy in others. Nothing outrageous, no one got promoted or demoted unfairly, but some of the smaller adjustments and positional swaps feel inconsistent. By keeping too many Rikishi with losing records in place, the association ended up pushing others down more than necessary, leaving some wrestlers closer to the demotion zone than they probably deserve. But hey, that's only my opinion, so what do you guys think? Would you change some positions? Answer me in the comments. Anyway, that's all for today, so if you enjoyed this video, consider liking it, subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss any future content. That's it guys, until next time!